activity. So joining me in studio is a former Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, Brigadier General Nunu Mensah. Also with him is COP Bright Odro, is a former Director General of the Police CID, and also lawyer Bobby Banson. He is a private legal practitioner. Now, we've put this panel together, and of course, my colleague Stephen N.T. is also standing by to give you some pictorial view and some infographics of what the Ayawaso West Wogon commission that was put together by the president, headed by Mr. Emil Short and Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu and former IGP Patrick Champon. We'll be getting into their recommendations, and then we'll be asking all the critical questions. So, Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Johnny, thanks very much.
Let's take a look at some of the recommendations that were made and whether or not we're up to speed with it, what we've done with it. And we're here for another election.
Yes.
Whether it's worth it.
So let's run you through some of the key recommendations. We might be able to go through quite a volume of it. Let's just get to move our screen this way. Okay, Johnny, I apologize, but I think I need to just... Good. So we'll start with recommendations which bordered on structural recommendations. So I'll take the first recommendation we can see here. The Commission recommended that the President reviews and restructures the Ministry of National Security with a view to ensure clarity of responsibility. So that's the first thing. So the critical question we should be asking is whether any reviews of the ministry has ever taken place.
Well, and this was because I'll bring a panelist in shortly, but this was because at the time it had come clearly at the commission sitting that the command structure was disobeyed. We couldn't clearly tell who was doing what, who asked them to move out and all of that. So it was important that they put out there. Maybe at this point, maybe I'll hold you on and welcome the gentleman. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. COP Bright Odro, what will be your first impression of security issues going into this election, particularly with Ayawaso West Wogon in hindsight? What would you say? Are you satisfied with provisions thus far?
I think the voting has started and it's quite okay. We have had issues at some polling stations, but I think the security personnel or security men have been able to calm tension and then establish some calm or control over these polling stations. So far, voting is ongoing, and I think it's quite okay. The commission had asked for a review of command, or if you will. Is it your view that it's been done? I don't think it's been done because we still see them out there making arrests and so on, beating people up in the streets and all that. If we have a command structure, a well-established command structure, I don't think these things will be happening. But I think my view on this is that national security, as we came to see, was national security coordinating activities of the security agencies. And so we will have police officers attached to national security. We will have military attached to national security. We will have other security agencies also, their staff being attached to national security. We didn't have something like national security operatives who go about and make arrests. I have not seen that before, but this is the trend of affairs. Any time now, you see them out there and doing what police officers should do, trained police officers should do. You see them doing what maybe military officers should do, but they have not been trained for these responsibilities. Of course, powers of arrest rest with the police. It's the police who have powers of arrest. So if you are not a police officer, you cannot make arrests. There are other security agencies that can also make arrests. The law confers on them to make arrests and search. If you're a national security operative, I don't see how you should even be making arrests, or you should even be making searches.
But they do these days. I mean, they come flaunting their gota and muscles and telling you
and
in a Rambo style that from national security.
Yes, that's what I would say. Like, it's military, those attached there, and they are there to coordinate. If national security stumbles on an information that requires police intervention, then that officers attached there will liaise with the police hierarchy, and then they take action. So that is how I understand national security to be, but not to have so many of what they call operatives running and making arrests and doing all these kind of things.
Okay, well, we'll come back to General and Council, but Steve, let's
yeah,
run
Johnny.
through this.
So we started with the structural, some of the structural recommendations, and we walked through the first recommendation that the president should review the structure of the ministry and all. But as part of the structural recommendation, were also a recommendation that the Minister of State at the presidency should have a clearly defined role, delineated roles with responsibilities that are indexed to the substantive sector minister. So all of this come under the structural recommendation. And so beyond structural recommendations were also operational recommendations. So I want us to go through the structural recommendations, operational recommendations, and other recommendations so we can get a fair idea of the flow of our discussion. So one in the operational recommendations was that as a matter of urgency, as you can see, urgency, the police and national security should develop protocols for assessing and rating intelligence that they receive and how they deploy any actions in relation to curbing or dealing with intelligence. And Johnny, you would know that in relation to dealing with intelligence, the best way of achieving any substantial output or outcome on intelligence action is to effective planning, how you execute, and you need to map up all of these. Sometimes I must admit that some of the actions that need to be in place for meeting these intelligent outcomes will not be, you cannot share. So you might not be able to put them in documentation.
Okay.
So
let's go on.
So let's still continue with the operational recommendations. And this one was very crucial, where the Commission recommended that in national actions of the nature of a by-election, no masked or hooded men should be used for civilian policing. This was very instrumental, as Johnny, you may have followed through all the hearing as it went on.
I'd like to hold you on.
Yeah, so that we can...
General, so for this election, the NDC had raised concerns about the policemen, or if you like, the national security operators who had worn balaclavas and were not in uniforms that could easily be identified. Now, subsequently, in their meeting with the Minister for National Security and the Information Ministry, they had been assured that we're going to have a register of everybody deployed today, and for the purposes of election, they had a prescribed uniform with name tags and all of that. Should that be satisfactory, especially when this directive has not been carried through, but should that interim directive be satisfactory?
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that I enlisted in the Army in 1960, October 1st, just over 60 years ago. The structure was simply this, that the police were always in charge of internal security. Let's make it very clear, all the confused states didn't exist. From then, and even in Britain, where I trained further on, it's always the same. The police are always in charge. Any assistance they require will be given by the military, but they will be in charge. Let's make it very clear. Security services provided intelligence. The special branch then, the BNI, didn't go into physical arrest of anybody.
Right.
Their job, you need intelligence to do your job. And they provided that. Coming from the research wing of the Foreign Ministry, from special branch in those days, now BNI, but never any hooded man since I have been there 60 years ago, going around arresting anybody. And as far as I know, the recommendation made by the Administration Commission wasn't followed. Nothing has happened. So we are still seeing the same thing repeating itself every day. Not long ago, I heard something, I don't know how far that is true. I did in Tema, on the Tema Akosomo Road.
Right.
A soldier in uniform. I don't know how far that was true.
Yes, and
in uniform.
manhandled by
In uniform.
supposed national.
In uniform.
That's right.
It never happened in my time.
What would have happened in your time?
I don't want to say it here. No, I don't want to say it here. We should be very careful. Ghana is like an egg. It's very fragile. You shouldn't assume that every time we come to the brink, we pull back, so one day we shall not go over the brink. We should be very careful. It's very simple.
The said national security person has been interdicted. Is that enough?
No, what I'm saying is that I'm going back to the short commission.
Right. I want to stay briefly on the soldier who was manhandled publicly and handcuffed. It's a WO.
In uniform.
Humiliated, yes, in uniform. Now, the national security person has been interdicted. That's what we are learning. Is that enough?
It's not enough.
What more?
The breach, what happened to that soldier in uniform at WO, is a major breach. If the recommendation made by the Electoral Commission had been followed, this breach wouldn't have occurred. And it's going on in Kumasi. Something happened in Kumasi.
Right.
And it's going on. All I'm saying, they should be extremely careful. Extremely careful what is going on. When people, instead of a commission, they make a recommendation like that by people, eminent people like Michot and others, you don't throw it away. You follow it. And as far as I know, many of the recommendations they made were discarded. They have done that. And we are, see, the trouble with Ghana is that
Ajuman Rawlings, who is the flag bearer of the NDP, has cast her ballot, and our man Thierry Nyan spoke with him. Let's quickly cross over and get the update coming in from that.
So here at the Research Polling Center at the Korle Klottey constituency, well, we have the flag bearer of the NDP, Madam Kunedu Rawlings. She is casting her vote as it is right now. Just making sure that she goes through, the process, as mandated. Church School A is the polling center inside the Korle Klottey constituency. So if she comes out, you're going to be speaking to her about what the process has been like for her and what she's observed, since she came here. She's just, been here just a few minutes ago, and that was just shortly before 11 a.m. To cast her votes. Before then, her daughter, who is also the, candidate for the NDC here at the Korle Klottey constituency, had also been here to cast her votes. She's doing so now at the parliamentary section. She's already done that for the presidential election, section. Obviously, you can tell that she was going to vote for, herself. But that is Madam Kunedu approaching us, and she has already cast her vote. Madam Kunedu, please, would like to speak to you. Okay, that's fine. That's fine, please. That's fine. Okay, madam, we want to ask you briefly, what has the process been like for you? I mean, you've been here just a few minutes, you've cast your vote, as a key stakeholder in the elections this year.
Well, I mean, if we're doing electronic voting and a lot of the counting is done electronically, I don't see how it cannot be done within 24 hours or at most 36 hours. But I think that the lady has been very systematic in whatever she's doing. She's been telling all of us in Ghana how she's doing it. So I have no complaints about her at all.
What are your expectations after the counting?
I'll leave that for the future.
Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you.
So let's leave Osu, Klottey and go to Tema Central, where we're told that as a result of delayed start in voting, this infuriated quite a number of the electorates who were waiting to cast their ballot. Our reporter Josephine Frimpong Eje is joining us with update from Tema Central.
They also they're about to start here too. They haven't started.
Are you putting me on this thing?
No, not yet.
Because I'm not supposed to answer all questions. No,
not yet.
You just had the materials. Because you have about 143 sentences.
But the one picking in Tema and answer them.
In fact, I can't answer.
Okay.
I need a pick.
Okay. Okay. That's fine.
Please, I'm busy. Parliamentary, take this one. Are you okay? Yes. Let's understand ourselves. If you are to write all the serial numbers, you delay them. Okay? Please, excuse me, I'm coming. Let's start with this. Who is taking this thing? Let's start with this so that when asked they are this, then you write it. Otherwise, you will delay. Okay? You will delay. Master, sister, this is.
Yes, please. So, yeah, 1 hour late, 1 hour more late. Then we are just about to start. So, what happened? What was happening? Do you know what happened? You don't know what happened. It was on their part. Yeah. Did they communicate that they will be late?
Your own time, and I'm not recording yourself. And I'm making a good idea.
Listen, I'm highly neutral. But some people came here as early as 4 o'clock. Yeah. Okay, so why you have taken the first decision? Okay, this is why don't we start so that as they are voting, you come for the decision. Otherwise, you delay them. An officer came here, he was very much annoyed.
I'm also annoyed because we've been here since.
Look at that. Look at that. Please. If you are not careful, you put them
During voting, how do we stop here and come back? So let's then when we start voting,
Right, so that's those were developments from the field from our various reporters. Let's get back to the studio and run through some of the recommendations. Johnny, we wanted to focus on the structural and operational recommendations. Absolutely. So we could talk through them. So let me quickly wrap up with the operational recommendations so that as part of your conversations you can add them together. So this recommendation is very important. The Commission recommended that SWAT teams and police officers deployed to maintain peace and order at electoral grounds must have rigorous training in crowd control, arrest, and perimeter security for both the ongoing electoral exercises and for any allied security issues that may emerge in ancillary fashion. So let me quickly get to see whether there is okay. So those are the operational and structural recommendations that were made. I've run through quite a number of them.
Council, let me bring you in. Let's look at the legal regime, the framework. I mean, clearly we could tell that the president sits atop the national security, as chairman. Now, the Ayawaso West Wogon incident, for example, does seem to suggest from the hearings at the Militariation Commission that he may not have been aware and that even the immediate commanders were not the ones that called the shot. In fact, the police says the vehicles that were used and the men that were used were not theirs, indeed. Now, how come we have a law, we have a structure, and yet things were sidestepped and nobody's feet has been held to the fire? Is that how our law works?
Well, I think it stems from the submission by Shopie Odro when he stated that the national security as envisaged by the drafters of the Constitution is not meant to be another security organ of the state. It's meant to be a coordinating space within which representatives from the various security agencies established by law would meet and then discuss our national security situation. And that is why it has the president of Ghana sitting at the top. So, for example, if you go to the regions, there are regional security coordinating councils, and there are district security coordinating councils.
That's right.
They do not have a force on their own, but the members, representatives of the military, the army. The army is also made up of the immigration.
No,
it's separate.
Yes,
okay.
it's separate. So it's Air Force, the Navy, and the Army. They form
the Ghana Armed Forces.
Right.
Yes, so the Ghana Armed Forces. I should have used the Ghana Armed Forces.
Ghana Armed Forces.
Then they have representatives who form the coordinating councils of the regions and the district, as it were. And I think it is the same concept that was elevated to the national level in the Constitution by having the National Security Council. But you see in recent times, and as a general said, that in the 60 years since he joined the military, he has never seen the national security having its own force. And that is where the problem is. And it was touched on by the commission as well. Because every single security agency that has been established is established by law. And so you have the armed forces and the Ghana Immigration Service. They all have laws that back them. And they have the channels of communication, their roles, their responsibilities, and what they do. Now we have the National Security Council, as it is now, as we are seeing it, not having any legal force. And so you don't even know how they are recruited, how they are trained. You remember during the commission, somebody came to say that he used to sell...
Double, you mean?
Yes, he used to sell something at the...
Phones.
Yeah. And he was called and given how many months or
2
weeks?
weeks training.
2 weeks training. And he's called a national security operative without any training in the constitutional rights of people and even knowing how the other security agencies should operate.
At this point, I think I should bring COP in. COP, so you have been in the thick of things at the police service. The training, and as we heard, and the reprimand that was supposed to have been given out, up until now we have not seen it. We've read government's white paper on it. But the training is central to whatever you do. Is it sufficient enough to say somebody trained for 2 weeks and was given a gun and that's it?
Thank you. I don't know the kind of training that was offered them, because 2 weeks and then you have weapon and then you go about and then arrest people. I don't know the kind of training. But probably they were giving some sort of military training at Esuchare. I think that is what I learned, some form of military training, maybe only weapon handling and shooting, but not maybe learning, of course, how we should operate, how police should operate. I mean, arrests and searches and so on. I don't think they were thought that.
Well, so then it comes back to the conversation. Who do we put our uniforms and authority on? There's been concerns about party people and vigilantes sipping in. On the back of the unfortunate incident at Ayoaso West Wogon, we put together the Emil Short Commission, and then subsequently we even passed the Vigilantism and Other Offences Act. Now here we are in election 2020. So far we've not heard of any vigilante groups yet. We hope we don't. But we passed the law. General.
See, these teams you have been talking about are political creations. They didn't exist before. All these SWAT teams, the vigilantes, are party political creations, not by any law. The law allowed the police, like I said before. We in the military didn't have training to handle civilians. We know our limitations. The military are organized to shoot to kill, not to arrest civilians. That is why the police are mandated by law to be the only authority backed by the army to deal with internal security. So when we bring all these party functionaries to operate under all kinds of names, these are not part of what did exist before. So this is what we should be dealing with. If you want to have a clean security institution, very clean, the military know very well the police are in charge of internal security. They know they are. When the police invite them, they come to support them, not to take over from them. But when they bring these SWAT teams and all these party functionaries, these are not, they are creating a problem for this country.
Where from the taste of trying to militarize everything? Where did you get it from?
You know,
You see policemen and
Yes.
they are wearing camels
Yes,
and they are
yes.
wearing desert boots
Yes.
in the hot afternoon.
You don't know what kind of people they are.
Where did they come from, that appetite?
I am saying that these are political party creations. Am I clear?
Right.
They are not backed by any law. And this is what Short was trying to get. You should get rid of them.
Can we?
The political party, see, we have a party in power. But because they have interest in what is going on, they are unwilling to deal with the problem. But I'm saying, if you want peace in this country, you should deal with those institutions. Otherwise, like I said before, we will come very close to the edge, one day we shall slip. This is what I see, and I'm very worried that we are still going. Well, this is a beautiful commission, beautiful recommendations. Many of them were not accepted by the government.
Right.
They were fine. I see nothing wrong with them. But because they will hurt the party's interests for some reason. The problem with Ghana is that, you see, politics is now a different game. It's not the game that I understood when I was trying to do politics, that you come to serve. Today, when I want to become a politician, you feel university, you want to be a politician because you can make a good living by being a politician. Your party wins, you are in business. It's business now.
Well, COP, let me bring you in quickly on this one. The ACP, Dr. Agojo, had mentioned a critical thing about the legal framework, who appoints who, and what impact or influence that has. Right from our CDS to IGP, even from the the rank of colonel all the way up, and even for you in the police, I think at ACP or so upwards, it has to take the presidency to do that. The hand that feeds you, can you bite it? Is it time we change that in our constitution so that we can ward off some of the controls? The vice president is the chairman of the police council. He also has influence in the military. The president is the commander-in-chief. So if a W, for example, is beaten by national security people and your commander-in-chief calls you to say, come, you are tempted to fall in line.
Yeah, that is the problem we have always had. IGP appointed by president, and then promotion from assistant commissioner up to IGP all should have the blessing of the or should be approved by the president. So that is the problem. And so if you are ordered to do something, even when you think that there's something you are being asked to do is unlawful. I mean, how can you say you will not do it? So that is the problem we have. If that part of the constitution that gives maybe the presidency the power to appoint and to promote is maybe amended, probably we may have some level of independence and neutrality in dealing with some of these issues.
Council, is it easy for us to change this? We've been talking about it. We need to change it. We need to change it. Is it easy?
It will take political will, and that is what is lacking for both sides. The Constitution has room to amend those clauses. They are not entrenched, but you know that the contention has always been, and I've made that there are some responsibilities that must be taken away from the executive. And the security setup is one of them. Because we keep coming to, and it is not only the officer you mentioned, Mr. Kofi Boache, I've forgotten his rank now.
Right, he's a
he has also made that contention that the politicians are the reasons why the security agencies are not what we term to be very effective during the term. Yesterday, I listened to the president's speech in the evening, and he said he's been assured by the security agencies that they will play neutral and that they would make sure that without any political colorization, any person who comes to misbehave will be made to face the law. But it is one thing to say it, and it is another thing to implement it. And so if you have, for instance, a big wig of the ruling party walk into a constituency and then starts doing things that are not right, would we see that person facing the full rigors of the law?
Some mention Howard Kumsen, who's an
I didn't want to mention
who fired a gun publicly. The police has been investigating since forever.
But if it was somebody from the opposite side, something would have happened. And it comes back to this point, like the officer said, if you are asked to do something, you know it is wrong, but you can't look into the versus, who gave you that order, and say, I won't do it. In the military, I don't think that it will be very different.
Okay.
And so I think that, yes, it's not only the recommendation by the commission that has mentioned this fact that we have to look at the constitution of the security apparatus. It's been said. It is time we take it
General,
seriously.
how soon should we change this so that we can have independence?
What exists in Ghana exists in many countries in America, in Britain, many other countries, in India, where I said. Not long ago, the current president of America,
Joe Biden.
No, Trump. Biden is not yet president. Only one president at the time. He got the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Miley, to go to the White House and perform something. That's what you saw on television. General Miley Foster General came to apologize for being misused by the president. He apologized.
Can we do that here?
I have done it before. That's why I was trying for defense and made a brigadier general. I've done it before. You can't order me to do what I know to be wrong, and I won't do it. I'll resign. I'm doing something which I haven't done before.
No.
General Achampo did something. I was chairman of the SMC. General Kufu was the chief of defense staff for the first. I went to him and said, if he didn't back me to do what I would do, I would resign. And I would have resigned. You see, let's have men of courage of conscience, and speak up. You see, we have got a problem in this country here. Ghanaians. And I'll go back to even Nkrumah's time and make a point here. When Nkrumah passed the PDA, everybody in the CBP knew this was a bad law. But they didn't have the courage to say, Mr. President, I'm sorry, sir, let's think again. Nobody did that. And it went on like that. We came 5, 6, 8. Nobody spoke up in the Progress Party. And it went on and on and on. It's still going on.
So your strong recommendation is that we need to change that law now?
No, they don't let them have to change. The people, both the political authority have to understand that the military don't serve them. They serve the state.
But they benefit from it.
Yeah, but they should know. And those in the military or political whatever authority should also know that they are appointed by the president, but the law is the state of Ghana. They should make it very clear. It happened in Britain. CDS in Britain appointed by the government. But we know, I know. I was told when I was in Britain in 1961 in Sunday that you are subject to the authority of the civilian in charge of your country. They have political control over you, but you serve your state. Let's get this clear. So all this thing going on, you see, we know what to do, all of us, but somehow we don't do because we don't have the courage to do what we know to do.
Okay. Well, one of the things also that came up in the recommendation, Stephen, maybe you share with us about Mr. Brian Champon, who then was Deputy Minister for States in charge of national security at the presidency. Now his role is being swapped. His role is the Minister for the Interior at the presidency. But the commission had a very strong recommendation about his role that should be clearly defined at this point. And COP, I'll put you on the spot here. When it comes to internal security, especially for elections, it is the role of the Interior Ministry to handle that for us. Now, Mr. Brian Champon, who was mentioned strongly in the Ayawaso West Wogon Commission, is a minister for the Interior at the presidency at this point. Mr. Bruce Derry is a substantive minister. I don't know if legally they have the same effect of power at this point, but clearly he may have some role going into this election. Should we have, for want of a better expression, if you like, held back a bit for him so that people won't have the kind of suspicion that they have?
I don't think in this particular election he has any role to play, because the IGP has assured us those police officers and other security personnel who will be involved will be given, I think, some uniform and identification tags and so on. And so for this one, I don't think he has any role to play. But if we go back to the Ayawaso, I read something here that he should have been reprimanded also.
That's right.
But what did we see? He was rather swapped. I think he was moved from the Jubilee House to the Ministry of Interior as Minister of State in charge. Interior.
He was actually promoted.
Well, so that is it. But even going back to the Ayawaso, why should he be the one to order or to send troops or to send people to Ayawaso? Why should he be the one? We have this National Security Coordinator, who of course his background is security, who knows more about security. But he is a civilian and he is a party man, and then he sent people to...
Well, the argument is that he had served in the U.S. Army before. That's the argument which was pushed forward.
As what?
Well, I don't know what this SOP was.
Yeah, but here he's a civilian, it is a minister. And then here is a competition, a contest of some sort. And then you are already biased because you belong to one party. So why should you send people, why should you send...
Do you see duplicity in terms of managing our security? For example, a tall list of security couples. The CDS is there, IGP is there, National Security Coordinator is there, National Security Minister is there, he has a deputy, Interior Minister is there, he has a deputy, Defense Minister is there, he has a deputy, Security Advisor, a tall list of it. Yet some say we shouldn't be having these problems if we have them. Or is it that we have duplicated the roles and we have not clearly defined them, so people are getting in and out?
We used to have National Security Coordinator, and he is coordinating the activities of all the security agencies. But now we have had National Security Minister, and the National Security Minister is a party man. So if you are a party man, I think your actions and other things will not be impartial, because we are a party man. And that is why some of us did not find it comfortable when we learned that he was the one who sent the what do you call it, the operatives to the Ayawaso West Wogo. So if we have so many of them, and without defining their rules, I think we're going to get a lot of confusion.
Okay, General, I'll come to you. Bobby, let me stick with you on this one. So where do we go from here? The commission says reprimand. We haven't seen it. In the strict sense of the word, what does it mean legally to reprimand anybody who has been found to have done something that they shouldn't have done at a material point in time?
You know, the findings of a commission set up by the president is not binding on the executive. So they will issue the white paper and choose which one they want to accept and the necessary steps they want to take. We cannot, it's at the discretion of the president, but it leaves, the exercise of that discretion will leave some of us to make the judgment call. Whether or not anything good or whether or not it will come back to hurt them for jettisoning the report of the commission will depend on how this election is conducted and whether or not indeed these so-called national security operatives will disrupt any of the elections. We've heard the IGP in one of the press conferences he organized before the election, talking about their preparation.
And the deployment.
Yes, have said that every single person that they will send will be marked.
That's right.
Every single person under the control of the police will be marked, so that when you see them, you know that this person is. If somebody appears and he says, well, I'm a national security operative, they are military and
police,
service, every constituent, every polling agent is supposed to have a bit of a security presence. So if the people there that we all know in that polling station have been earmarked to ensure peace and order in that polling station, see another person approach in a uniform that is not one of theirs, with no identity so-called on the face of it, it is their responsibility to reprimand that person and say that, listen, we need to know who sent you here, why you are here, who you are here, and then before it gets out of hand. If this election goes smoothly without any agitation arising from the activities of these so-called national security operatives, then we would have said, okay, maybe they took a cue and then they would have done what is right. But if incidents happen, then we would all have a cause to complain and say, listen, it happened once, this was the recommendation, you did not take it serious and it has happened again. It means that you allow it to happen because you stand to benefit from it, and the rest of us will be able to make that.
For those who were affected by the activities of Ayawaso West Wugon, reading the report and knowing that recommendations were made for people to be reprimanded or their feet to be held to the legal fire, and they're walking free, what respite is there for them?
I think in the beginning of there were discussions about them taking legal action against those who were or those who were affected were taking legal action. But you know that as long as the state takes responsibility for their actions, then you can decide to bring action even against the state. But I'm also aware that the government absolved some of their. There were discussions about the government absolving some of their medical bills,
of course, yes,
and then paying compensation to them.
Right.
So I don't know how far that went. That may be the reason why they did not pursue.
But does that cure the concerns that we have expressed?
Oh, of course. Like I said, that whether or not we would have a cause to really complain will depend on how these elections can end. If indeed there are no such agitations, then we would see that, then they would have...
General, let me bring you in. So we're at around 12:35. The polls will end at 5 p.m. We'll start counting. That's where the fear of, if you like, ballot box snatching and intimidation and some machination, macho men will show themselves. What should we be doing now as a country, especially for the men and women in uniform clothed with the responsibility to police the election?
Any problem will come not from the police or the military. It will come from these paramilitary forces. And if I were a police officer or Riksek, I'm the one who's in charge there. And I've said here that the police should take central control. See, when you have the duplicity of commanders, it makes job very difficult.
But they're working with the prisons, fire service,
they should work with the police
immigration.
officer in charge there in the region. Must be under his authority.
Okay.
They cannot move without him ordering them.
The divisional commander must take charge. The regional commander must take charge of the police.
Yes.
Okay.
If we don't do that, I remember there's a problem in Kumasi between the Shantis and the Nelson and Teacher Mangini. About maybe 10 years ago, President Miller's time. And they should be bold enough to take charge. If they give you a job, you're a commander. I've said here, the military is not our job to police elections. You're not policemen. You're not trained to handle people.
But it does appear that the military has been involved.
Yeah,
I've heard Brigadier General Apo of the Central Command, for example, warn that anybody who tries to go out there to foment trouble, it will be unfortunate for them. And
because that's how the military should. When you see the military, my time, you run away. they will come and deal with you. They don't have time to talk to you. That's why the police will talk to you, and if you don't listen to them, the military come and they will deal with you. That's how it should be. When you see a soldier coming, you better find somebody.
But the police, somebody will argue, the police has the FPU, it has the CTU, it has the striking force, it has all of those. Why do we need to bring in the military
to
do that?
Are a force in case things get out of hand.
Okay.
They're not there to be used anyhow. They stand by to deal with anybody who is intransigent, who is difficult to deal with. So I'm saying that the most important thing here, put them under one command.
Okay.
If the military are subject to police authority, the one in charge. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of problems there. When you don't, if you have any SWAT teams or people from various vigilante groups coming, and whether you get the uniform, I'm saying here to you that, and the public, that there must be one person in charge.
Okay. The concerns, and I'll come to COP shortly, but the concerns about the military's involvement in certain parts of the Volta region, certain parts of the Bono regions as well, the NDC considers that to be some form of intimidation, especially when we do know the dynamics around the Volta area. People cross from Togo to come in.
My advice
they have been restricted, and they say that amounts to intimidation.
It could amount to intimidation. But again, I'm saying here that today we have all kinds of people in the military and police. Not my time. My time, it didn't happen. There are too many political people in this. I'll be very frank with you. They are not proper soldier, proper military policemen. But if you serve under me, you can talk with any political hat. I'll deal with you. If you can get people to behave, to this country, I keep on talking, my dear, I get worried about the way we are going. One day we would miscalculate. We are playing with fire. So let's take advantage of the small piece we have and strengthen and enlarge it. But I'm not saying I'm an MPP, I'm an NDC man, so I will only, no, this is what's going to destroy the country. Okay. So I'm saying, I'll tell the police and the military especially.
All right.
If I import a region, don't go and do anybody dirty job for them. You know what to do.
Okay.
Do the right thing.
Well, we'll come to COP Bright shortly, but let's cross over now to Ballot 360, where my colleague Patrick Stevens is standing by. We do understand that there's some situation in Aswansi in the Ashanti region where the NDC's Muntaka, who's the incumbent MP, is asked that somebody, his daughter, cast a vote on his behalf or thumbprint on his behalf. We'll fact check that quickly and get back into the studio here.
Where we unpack the issues occurring across the country and on social media, fact-checking every single thing that gets reported or gets communicated as far as election 2020 is concerned. And already we have some news that's coming in, some of which are making rounds on social media, and we have to validate this. News coming in from the Asawase constituency, current member of parliament there being Honorable Muntaka Mohammed. There are some reports making rounds that he has, allowed his 6-year-old daughter to vote or almost, endorse a candidate on the ballot. And this looks very worrying if it is the case that, this happened. But first of all, we have to establish whether this happened or not. And I'll be speaking to Ashanti regional correspondent who has a lot of information on this. He has been investigating this one on the ground. His name is William Evans Nkum. We have Evans Nkum on the line. Hello, Evans. Hello, Evans.
Hello, Stephen.
Right, Evans. So this development regarding the Asawase Member of Parliament, Honorable Muntaka Mohammed, are you able to provide us some updates on exactly what has transpired?
Well, so Stephen, Muntaka came to the polling station with his daughter, and he went through the process with his daughter. But when he got to the booth where you're supposed to cast that secret balloting, two hands moved into the booth. But at this stage, it is very, very difficult because there's no evidence showing that Muntaka actually held the hands of his daughter to thumbprint on a particular candidate. That hasn't been established. The only thing that we know is that two hands moved into the booth, and we are unable to establish as to which of the hands, that is, as to whether it was Muntaka's hand that thumbprinted or the daughter. But for now, there's no substantiated evidence to prove that it was Muntaka's daughter's hands that was thumbprinted or his hands that was thumbprinted.
Well, thank you very much for that update, William Evans Nkum. This is exactly what we wanted to get to the bottom of, because he's a member of parliament and ostensibly he will appreciate what the rules of engagement really are. Well, viewers, there you have it. That appears currently we don't have any evidence to suggest that the honorable member of parliament for the Asawase constituency has allowed his daughter to sort of thumbprint the ballot paper as far as the elections is concerned. Well, so if you are watching us, you can see a video of exactly what transpired at the constituency and at the polling booth when the honourable member of parliament got to the polling station. There you can see himself washing his hands. COVID-19 protocols very, very important, and you can see his daughter as well washing her hands as well, and that is what we want to see. Question is, did the daughter at any point in this process thumbprint the ballot paper for the member of parliament? It's important that we understand these facts so we don't mar the the elections as we speak. And you can see the video rolling up now. You have the Member of Parliament clad in white in a queue waiting for his turn to take his ballot paper and vote. And at this point, it doesn't appear that the daughter of the Member of Parliament, Honorable Muntaka Mohammed, for the Asawasi constituency, allowed his daughter to thumbprint the ballot paper for him. We'll transfer you now to Studio C, where a lot is happening regarding the election coverage.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Now, Asawasi. Thank you very much. Asawasi is one of the 47 seats in the Ashanti region. Both the NDC and the MPP have declared that they have agenda 47 over 47. But this is news coming in. We'll verify some more and share with you. Somebody has just put on Twitter also that, well, we saw former President President Mahama, who's in the race again to want to be president, also go into the voting screen with a young lady and was teaching her how to do that. Is that a wake-up call for the NCCE? Well, I don't know. COP, this conversation about counting of the ballot, we're now getting towards 5 p.m. It is when we get to 5 p.m. that we see all manner of tendencies of people wanting to snatch ballot boxes, the aggression, the agitation, the anxiety, and all of that. Have we been honest with ourselves in terms of dealing with the issues of vigilantism and the fact that we say there are hotspots, possibility of people fomenting trouble and snatching ballot sheets? I remember IGP Kudalo had offered the presidential candidates 6 policemen each of their choice from a pool they had to pick. This year, I've not heard of any arrangement. My question is, have we been honest beyond just enacting laws in trying to deal with the issues, the aftermath of voting and accounting?
Well, I think in 2016, the counting went on smoothly. We didn't have any problems with the counting and the coalition. And this is what I would want to believe, that it will be also smooth at the end of the day. But who knows? I'm sure the police and the military and the other security agencies are there. When it's time for counting, I think the number of security personnel at the counting center or at the coalition center increases. And so I'm sure we wouldn't have any situation where people will come in to steal ballot boxes, because I know the security on the ground is strong. The presence of the military, the police, and the other security agencies will help a lot to diffuse tension at the counting stage. So for me, I believe we are not going to have problems with counting people coming in to steal boxes and so on. At least for the past, I think, 8 years, 2012, we didn't also see ballot boxes being snatched. And 2016, we didn't see ballot boxes being snatched. And I'm tempted to believe that it's going to be the same this year as well. But even if somebody makes the attempt, I think we have already been educated a lot. The general population has been educated. And I'm sure, as the IGP has assured, we will deal with any situation like that should anybody attempt to cause trouble at the counting stage. So I'm sure we will get through with this. We wouldn't have any problem.
Thank you. Well, earlier my colleague Selom Amenya, who is representing us in the Volta region and keeping his eye on with Percy Agbanu, they put together the conversation with the Volta regional minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha. We do know that in the Volta region, for example, the Honorable John Peter Mewu is hoping to clinch the Hohoi seat. And that would be news, because in the Volta region, there's never been a seat for the NPP, even though they say they have not seen much of the NDC. That's the NPP's message. But take a look at the interaction between my colleague Selom Amenya and Dr. Archibald Lecha.
Nothing wrong with this. Forgot about you.
It's important that he takes the lead so his regionates can follow and also exercise their franchise as we see that. It's all right to go and vote, so please go out there and vote peacefully, and COVID-19 protocols are being observed. As you can tell, the polling station is not so busy. It doesn't have long winding queues, which means that you can also go out and vote. And what the Electoral Commission has done is that it has increased the number of polling stations from the 31,000 to 33,000, and that's 38,622, obviously to create lesser numbers for the individual polling stations. And because they use the cluster system to register, also you find sometimes 150, 200, sometimes 300 people to one polling station, which has reduced the numbers that would have originally turned up in their thousands to vote at one location, and which would have been chaotic as well. So this is the Honorable Minister voting. Obviously, I mean, he would vote for more. So Salon here's here.
Are not on those registers, so they were redirected to the appropriate police station where their names have been captured, and that is the That's the only problem I cited on the way. Other than that, everything is moving on smoothly. But I see our opponents, executives, passing up at, say, Demi, for instance. There are 3 polling stations there. I saw them. They are not agents, and they are not candidates either. You know, we candidates can go to any polling station, but the people I saw there are not. But I just chatted with them and told them that let there be peace, and I moved away.
All right, let's see. Before now, there was the issue of military men deployed in the Volta region and all of that. You have Atikbi, which is in your constituency, which is a border town. What have you picked up as the situation in that town?
Yeah, it is true, and I did see the deployed troops. Some were even flying in helicopters along our borders. They docked at Volta barracks, and they were coming out to do whatever they think they want to do. But I think it's a ploy to intimidate our people. So on our rounds, we've spoken to the townsfolk, spoken to the chiefs to be very vigilant and not to allow themselves to be intimidated by the presence of these soldiers. I have told them specifically that even if they line up 10 soldiers in front of the ballot box, they should pass through them and go and cast their ballot, because it's their constitutional right and nobody can take it from them. We've also cautioned that they should not provoke anybody. But if people want to tamper with the ballot box, they should assist those who are on the police or security list, official security list, to stop any violence from happening.
But if you say assist, what kind of assistance?
Wait, we know that we have the customs people, the fire service, the prison service, the police, and the immigration officers. They are the people officially deployed to maintain security at the polling stations. So if anybody else other than these categories come there, they should draw the attention of the police, as I did in Akwepe just a few minutes ago.
And that was the Honorable Benjamin Podo. He is the MP for Ho Central. It's not Dr. Archibald Lechas we had announced earlier. Apologies for that. We'll bring you that conversation with the Honorable Regional Minister for the Volta region, Dr. Lecha. But that was the Honorable Benjamin Podo. He is the NDC MP for Ho Central. Bobby, I come to you. He had raised some concerns about intimidation. We discussed it earlier here. And he said, well, he's also enthused about it, but nevertheless, the people should go out there and vote. it comes back to the earlier conversations we've had. How should the people of the Volta region and other places where military deployment has been, be feeling and be acting at this time?
Well, you ask yourself whether this is the first time there is military deployment to those areas during election. I have not been keen follower of elections since 1992, but at least from 2000, this is the first time I'm hearing military presence in these parts. And remember, it happened before the during the voter registration. We were told that it was because there were people who were not Ghanaian citizens who were crossing the border to come. And so you presume that, okay, the reason why the military was deployed was during the voters registration to prevent non-Ghanaians from coming to register. Now, this is not voter registration. It is presumably Ghanaians who have registered who are coming to vote. And so if there is any reason why there should be special military exercise beyond the election task force, I think that the people should have been made aware,
right,
and their chiefs, so that they will know that, okay, we are not here to intimidate. We cannot run away from the fact that the Volta region is a stronghold of the opposition party. The parts of the Bronga Hafo, I know during the voters registration, the Banda areas are areas that the NDC has been winning the elections over the period.
Right.
So if you deploy military presence, sometimes even without the knowledge or whatever of the security men in the area, then it creates the perception that you are there to intimidate, to prevent the people from coming. So if that is not the purpose, to intimidate, it is only fair that the reason why they are there is amply communicated to the people through their chiefs. Even the members of parliament who are there could be told that, oh, we are bringing military men, because I know, for example, there will be regional security coordinating council.
But the understanding we got is that this was because of COVID-19 and also because we wanted to police our borders properly. Because as it stands now, our borders remain closed.
Yes.
It is only those who can fly in and fly out, but our land borders remain closed, save those who are bringing us food and other necessaries of life.
The reason why, I'm told the reason why they are there is because of this Western Togoland.
Right.
Yeah, they are there because of Western Togoland. But that does not impress me at all, because how the physical presence of military, how is it going to deal with the Western Togoland people? Will you see the Western Togolanders or Togolese coming in group to cause trouble? You would see that.
Is intelligence lost on us?
Exactly, it's intelligence.
Is it lost on us?
This is intelligence matter. If you want to monitor the activities of this homeland group, it's a matter of intelligence. Gathering your intelligence and then acting promptly, but not physically deploying soldiers. I had some problem with some soldiers about a week ago. I didn't know why they were there. That was when I got to know that they were there because of this. I was going to Japan with my son who had returned from the US, and when we got to the Adomi Bridge, my son took a picture of the bridge, and the soldier stopped us, and then he said we should bring his food. And I said, how dare you? How can you ask for his food? And it became a problem. We had to argue out this. And I introduced myself to the soldiers. And even that was same matters. So I said, is this your duty? Why are you here?
Because you mentioned that you were a former CID boss.
Yes. And I said, why are you here? Do you know that your presence is even intimidating? I told him, and he said, are you saying that I'm intimidating you? I said, no, your presence here is intimidating. And a lot of them with immigration and police, I will. And then later one of them told me they were there because of Western Togoland. This. And I said, I began to think, how could you deploy soldiers here at Juapon? And when you leave Adome Bridge and get into Juapon town proper, soldiers and police are also there.
General, the presence of the military has come back again. Is it one too many?
No, we have to be very careful looking at this issue of Western Togoland, and then the deployment of soldiers in the border region.
The concept of intimidation, as is being speculated.
Today we have military personnel who are highly educated. Not my time. My O level was enough to go into the military, become an officer. They may not have master's degree, so they are not stupid. And the order would have been given by somebody to them to deploy. And I want to believe that they won't be stupid to obey stupid orders. I wouldn't obey stupid orders. So
everybody is not like you, General.
They're better educated than me. Anyway, look at this Washington issue. I wrote a paper not long ago. I don't have a copy here. And the title of I don't know whether if you go on the net, you'll be there. Why I Weep for Ghana. Why I Weep for Ghana. I read the issue of Washington and said in that paper that it's possible that they could create problem during this election. They could do that. They did something not long ago by blocking roads and dumping sand here and there. And I thought it was possible for them to do a similar thing during this election.
But the soldiers were there. They came to block the road. That's the irony.
So if that's, for example, the reason why they are soldiers deployed at the bridge at where the our friend here is talking about, it's possible.
Okay. We'll come back to you shortly. We understand that there's some update coming up. Steve, take it away.
Right. Thanks very much, Johnny. Let's quickly get to the telephone lines. Rosina Foster is our reporter at Ewutu Senya East constituency, where we're told that there were some gunshots after the NDC candidate there voted. Rosina is joining us on phone now. Rosina, so tell us exactly what the situation is right now where you are.
Okay, Steve, currently I'm at the Steps to Christ polling station at Ewutu Senya East. This is Katwa and its environs. So, but I'm sure that some of our viewers know about Steps to Christ polling station. This is the same polling station where during the voter registration exercise, Honorable Howard Kunsi fired some gunshots. He later confirmed it, and the police tells us that there has been investigation. And then today, let's come back to today what happened. We understand around 11 a.m. this morning, the NDC parliamentary candidate for the area, now Koyo Okuno, came to the Steps to Christ polling station where she registered to vote. And then just about 50 meters from the polling station, her crew was attacked by some unknown persons who were in mufti. They fired some gunshots, and then 2 people have been injured. Currently, those 2 persons have been taken to the Kaswa polyclinic for treatment.
Interesting. So, Rosina, I want to understand. So, the police indeed saw these unidentified men open fire?
Yes, we understand that there were only 2 police personnel over here. And therefore, when this thing happened, it didn't happen inside the police station. It's just a few meters, about 50 meters from the police station. That is where this happened. And therefore, they were taken unaware when this happened, and they couldn't contain the situation. And before they realized these persons have injured these 2 people and have voted.
And what I need to know is also that I'm sure you may not have witnessed it directly, but did your source confirm to you the actual time that this happened? We had a report.
They are telling us this happened around 11 a.m. This morning. That was when the NDC parliamentary candidate came around to vote.
And you can confirm that this is the exact polling station where the Hawakumsin shooting incidents happened.
This is where it happened.
The last time.
The same spot that we recorded the violence during the registration exercise.
Right. So beyond this particular security infraction, I want to know whether how the security situation is generally at that particular place now after the shooting and other places you have been.
Security has been beat up. We have some military persons over here, and then some more police people have been added to the security detail here. So calm has returned. Voting that was suspended has commenced once again. There are people in the queue trying to vote now.
Right. Rosina, thanks very much. I will keep an eye on it. And you keep safe out there. So, Johnny, this is very, very instructive,
Right.
especially considering you saw me wanting to confirm whether this is the exact polling station the Howard Kunson shooting incidents happened. And unfortunately, it is.
Thank you, Steve, for that update, and Rosina as well. See, let me come to you. Investigations will fall on your lap if you were in the service at this point. The CID says we are investigating, and there are one too many. I can give you a plethora of them that the CID picks and says we are investigating. Picks and says we are investigating. Now, the Honourable Minister admits on radio that I fired the weapon. And the question on my mind is, imagine if everybody who owned a sidearm takes it to a place of this nature and starts firing because they feel threatened. What would happen? Question, how long does it take to investigate things of this nature such that it engenders confidence of the people in the security apparatus?
It's not just investigating, but investigating and then taking action. I think you investigate and then you get to the truth and then the action follows. But this is the problem we have been talking about because of the person who fired. She herself has said that she did fire. And so how long will it take to investigate?
And let's just place on record that today's firing was not done by the minister, so you don't confuse the two. And we're just saying that it's happened before at the same spot, and so we're concerned. Yes.
You see, somebody fired and nothing has been done. And so people take you and then also do the same thing, like what has happened. I'm not saying that because we have not heard about the result of investigation and action, people are also firing. But it is possible that because no action has been taken, somebody will also be emboldened to do the same thing and then run away. As for investigation, I think the registration was about 4 or 5 months ago.
Right.
And so if we indeed want to investigate, we would have concluded the investigation by now. But I know the case was taken to, I think, Cape Coast, the
Central Regional Command.
That's Central Regional Command. But people should be bold to ask what has happened to the case.
Then it brings me to the question of ownership of firearms. Recently, I had a conversation with the Executive Secretary of the National Small Arms Commission. He had mentioned, for example, that we have a total of 2 billion guns in circulation, half of which had been registered, the other half not registered. And even the ones that had been registered, you know, just about 40,000 of them who come to renew their licenses year on year. And he says there's an alarming demand for guns in Accra alone. How does that sit with you? Because this could be possibly one of those guns floating around.
You see, people have been killed in recent times. I'm not saying only this particular period. Policemen being killed, policemen on duty being killed, armed robbers shooting and killing people on the road. And so people want to protect themselves. But I don't think it is the weapon that you acquire which will protect you. Because if you are not even careful, if because of the fear of armed robbers you have acquired a weapon, these armed robbers may attack and take your weapon away. That is the advice sometimes I give to people who want to acquire weapons. You acquire a weapon, and the weapon will not shoot if anybody comes to your room or to your house. The weapon itself cannot shoot unless you pick it and then maybe use it. But because you don't suspect or you don't believe that you are under attack or somebody is going to attack you, you are always not ready to fend off any attack. So it is the attacker who has planned to come and attack you. So if you are not careful, you will shoot and then take your weapon also away. So the mere acquisition of weapon does not protect you. So for me, if somebody say he needs weapon to protect himself and all that, I say, oh, it is not necessary. Because if somebody means to harm you, he will harm you even with your weapon.
General, take a bite on this. Are we reluctant to bite such that it emboldens others to, if you like, do perform the same crimes or the same mistakes, the same things that we're worried about with a bit of flamboyance as we're seeing now? The police had warned, don't go firing arms. The soldiers have warned, don't go firing arms. And yet, before 1 p.m., somebody is firing arms.
One reason is simply that we don't punish wrongdoers. So it encourages others to commit the same offense. In the military, I've never said, I'm sorry, sir. I've never said sorry, sir. Never. You were punished. No, I mean, saying sorry doesn't excuse you. You know, so the moment we go soft on when people commit crime, they expect to be punished. And if you don't punish them, you're encouraging them and others to do the same thing. About this, talking about weapons, I agree with him, with my colleague here, very strongly that, I mean, many people have been killed in history. Kennedy was killed by Lee Oswald, CIA, all of them, nobody could protect him. The man shot him. Luther King was killed. So many people have been killed. The weapon they had or protected with never actually saved them. I don't think that if I have a weapon in my house and you came, you are planning to kill, I don't know you are going to kill me. So how can I protect myself? But you must be always prepared to defend yourself. You know, you should train to be able to protect yourself, not just with a weapon.
Are people rushing to get guns because they think that the general security is not up to what they can trust? Yes. What is it?
Exactly. They fear for their lives. Like you heard, people are being killed randomly all over the place. And they think that by having a weapon, they can defend themselves. But the weapon, as we have been told by our CID expert here, it cannot defend you. I have never, when I was in the military, with all the coups, and I never had a weapon, never had one. My own son, one of my children.
You must have been a very brave man.
No, I mean, if you're a general, you're afraid to be shot. I mean, you're too, okay, then you're not a general. If you are going to shoot yourself, defend yourself, then you're not a general. You must depend on the people around you to defend you. At the time when I had to, June 4th, not June 4th, 31st December, I had a soldier from Ghana Barracks. He said, sir, I'm your bodyguard. I didn't know him from Adam. I slept with him. I didn't know him. You could have shot me. But I trusted him. See, we don't have trust. That's the biggest problem we have in Ghana. We don't have trust.
Trust for who?
The people that I work with. I mean, in the military, I've worked with people, I didn't know where they came from. Both from the north, from the east, from wherever. And we work together. In the military, when you go into action, he's on my right, he's on my left. I trust them to protect me. But in politics in Ghana, nobody trusts anybody. You don't trust them. You know, as I said to you before, I went to vote in Britain. There were two women sitting down there. It didn't take more than 10, 15 seconds to finish voting. I saw my voting card. Look at it. I went to the corner there. Took a pencil, press X, a pencil. In Britain, no ink, no party, nothing there, no police, nothing. But they trusted the women to do the right thing. All this going around and agents and party people, it's all a waste of time. If we are trust.
We've trusted the president to be the man at the helm of affairs and to protect all of us.
Yes.
Is it your view that he is acting in that spirit,
such
that people will have the kind of confidence that we must have in our security setup?
That is the unfortunate thing we have in politics. The people that we appoint to protect us, when their own people do something wrong, they cover them up. It doesn't happen in the military. President Rawlings, may he rest in peace, had his nature or somebody shot when he did something wrong. That's what I'm talking about. Then we have no problem. But today, something happens, I mean, short commission set up, make recommendations, nothing is obeyed, nothing is done. It was a waste of time. If most of what they said was sensible, but nothing was done. So you are repeating the same thing over and over again. You don't trust the police. People are shot, nothing happens. An MP is shot here, JB Dankwa in the central region, MP shot here. And you don't trust the police, you don't trust anybody, so you protect yourself. But that is not the answer to the problem. Because your gun can't even protect you too.
Bobby, let's take a bite on this one as a private citizen. Now, the concept is that people may not necessarily be feeling too safe. I don't know how you feel at this point, but if members of parliament and now somebody is disturbing the peace of the nation, firing a gun at a place designated for all of us to decide who leads the country, who leads the constituency, it must be a great border, is it not?
You know, I started to worry about the security of the state when these vigilantes walked to a courtroom and harassed the judge. It happened, I think, 2017 or
2017.
so. In Kumasi, yes.
Yes, 2017.
And media played the videos, and yet the police said they've been asked to drop the case.
But they were convicted, I remember they were fined. And then somebody paid for it.
That's what I'm saying. That a sitting judge could be threatened in her own court in this country. Then, secondly, there was an event in Tema where somebody went to take the microphone and said they had been promised jobs by the government. They've not been given the jobs. They were given a deadline. If the jobs were not delivered, what happened in Kumasi would be small compared to what they were going to do. He said it. Threatened, yes. It happened. And so if I am a citizen and I'm even the established security apparatus themselves do not have control of what is happening because of the so-called infiltration by the so-called national security operatives. I mean, if you can, it's better to protect yourself, not because necessarily against election violence, but for your own personal security. Because sometimes, and I had this experience, you know, you have your home burgled, you're able to have cameras, point to who did it. You go and report to the police will tell you, oh, this guy, we know him. You will see what we will do. And you go there 3-4 times, they keep telling you, oh, we will see what, you've shown them the camera evidence. They come to your house, check, you go there, oh, you see what you will do. And then about a month or two later, you see the person in the neighborhood. Won't you start thinking of protecting yourself? You will.
Somebody tells me that a thief jumped into his home, he went to report to the police. The police says, go, when he jumps again, come and tell us. You know, so, but sometimes you can't blame them. But COP, I want us to bring the conversation into a different dimension where in terms of, in general, has been talking about a lot of American examples and British examples. In terms of who protects our presidents, the candidates are out there. I dare say, right from 1992, Jerry Rawlings, President Kufuor, to President Mills, President Mahama, now President Akufo-Addo, you always find heavily built men following them on the campaign trail. They are not from state security. Once they become president, some way, somehow, those people migrate and become the official bodyguards. Is it time for us to end that phenomenon? Because I think that is hypocrisy for us to put together a law to say we are banning vigilantism and we have macho men following candidates around. I mean, follow all of them and it's there. When and why should we break it?
You see, when he is not the president, he has to protect himself, of course, then he needs to get some people to protect him. And that is why that phenomenon is there. But as soon as he transforms into presidency, then, of course, the state security must protect him.
But we see some of those macho men becoming official.
Yeah, but I think this is I don't know whether this is the first time.
It's not now. I'm saying since 1992, it becomes official. The person becomes president. In the US, whoever becomes president, state security takes over. Everybody wards off. But in our particular case, the macho men follow them around. Then, as soon as they are declared president, the macho men become legitimate.
The macho men become, they also need to earn some salary. They also need to live. So,
presidential staffers.
So they become presidential staffers.
Should we end that phenomenon?
I talked about trust.
Allow COP to finish and then we can come to
I think in our circumstances, this cannot end. Because
why can it not end?
Because these people, unless maybe they find jobs for them, some jobs that may not necessarily be security jobs, because they need to live also. When you were not president, we followed you. Now you have become president. Give us a job and then let's survive on. If you don't give us a job, then we will continue to protect you as private security. or the president's private security. I think that is what they transform into, from the macho type of security to the presidential or is it private presidential private security also.
Okay.
Like for let me use the present head of security, Captain. Is it Koda?
Captain Koda, right?
Captain Koda. Captain Koda was, I think, the president's head of security also when he was in opposition. And definitely when he becomes president, you don't expect him to just...
But Captain Koda is trained. We're talking about the ones who have not had any formal training. They just have muscles and meat and bones and large bones.
That's what I would say. They also need to survive. And once they have followed you to tell, the time you have died, now you have become president, would you just throw us away without giving us jobs? So maybe they need to be given some form of job rather than still being, what do you call it?
Okay. All right. General, take a bite on this one.
Just go to
you mentioned trust, but should we end this phenomenon?
No, it's very important. I mean, if you have been watching Joe Biden president-elect in America, he has bodyguards.
Right.
But they're not official. I'm sure that I can see their bodyguards from my profession. I've been in this game for a very long time, intelligence and security and so on. But once, of course, he's sworn in, you have a proper official. Okay. But I'm talking about, I mentioned trust. It's a very important word, trust. Captain Koda, I know him extremely well. He served under me. I was commandant of the Staff College before June 4th. I know him very well. And I keep on talking about trust, which we don't have in politics, in the civil life. We don't have.
Okay.
The military is a very important word. Day of the coup, 1979, 4th June, I'll say it here. I reported the next day because all the officers were under arrest, including my chief of staff of the general quarters. And without my knowledge, I'm saying it here, Captain Koda came to my house, took my wife and children, put gas on my house, and took them to somewhere of safety. They were shooting everywhere. I didn't know.
You were in action.
No, I was under arrest. I mean, all these people were under arrest. It's not a joke.
Okay.
So I didn't know. The same Captain Koda just worked under me. And there's something he did, I got angry and blasted him. I'm saying it here. One would have thought that he'd go and shoot my children and kill them. On the contrary, without me knowing,
he protected them.
He came to my house at 9 o'clock there was a curfew. Took a pin, put my wife and children in. Where do you want to go? And my sister at the station in Goa State. Drove them in the curfew, my children, jumped the wall, put them in a place of safety, and put security on my house. That is the kind of people we're talking about. We don't have them. We don't have them. There's no trust. And I keep on saying this trust. You feared. I had bodyguards as chief of defense staff 2 times.
Your ADCs.
ADCs. Now the chief of defense staff was my ADC. Yenaka was my ADC. I didn't know him. I just, you see, there's a point I keep on making. You don't have to know somebody to trust him. You don't have trust. You know. So I have bodyguards. I don't even know how they became my bodyguards. But they could have shot me. But
so are you pointing to the fact that this could be an issue of trust where these macho men that follow these candidates over time build a certain kind of relationship, bond and trust such that they can't lose them, or what? Do they learn so much
those who choose them,
on the campaign trail?
Those who
they
choose
hear
them,
so much?
Those who choose them, whether the president, COVID, whatever, don't trust the official ones going to be given to him. Doesn't trust them. Nkrumah was shot by a police bodyguard at Flagstaff House, the Jubilee House. His bodyguard shot him. So it's a very, very important, who betrayed Jesus, not one of his disciples.
Right.
So in Ghana, one of the biggest problems we have with Ghanaians today is lack of trust. Even in politics, they don't trust anybody in politics. I've done small politics. It's dirty. They don't trust you. And that, to me, is the biggest issue with us as a people.
So can we stay on trust and, if you will, continue doing this, even though it's not helping us? Because if I can be a macho man, follow a candidate around, elections are held, the person wins, and I become official, then there will be a long line of macho men waiting to build their bodies and to do the work because it's an easy way. I don't need a CV to do that.
No. And again, let's give one small example. I vote in Britain. First of all, a woman comes to my house to register me as a voter. He asked me, how many people live in this house beyond 18? Myself, my daughter, my boys were elsewhere. I registered my daughter. She didn't see her face. She didn't see her face. They didn't want to vote. 2 women sitting down there, no Conservative, no Labour Party rep. See, this problem, all these people going around Ghana, thousands of them, there's no need. If you have trust in the electoral people sitting down there, not to seal for another one party, this nonsense wouldn't happen.
Okay, Bobby, take a bite on this. Should we end it or should we not?
I think that it's for our own good that we institutionalize the process of providing the security for our presidency, because nobody will be president for life. So what happens is that if you bring your own bodyguard and they serve you for 4 years, for 8 years, and you leave office, what happens to them? What happens to the knowledge that they would have acquired guarding the president during that time? They go with it. Another person comes. And so we don't have knowledge that is kept to the benefit of the state. Private persons coming in and out. And in the long run, the country would suffer. But if we have a state agency or even these state agencies that provide special security for any person who is elected as president, we would have people who will build competence and expertise and experience over time.
I must say that the state provides security, but there's that core.
That is what I'm saying, that if we agree that whoever stays with the president, there's the president does not come with his own people because we trust the state to provide that.
Right.
That unit, that special unit, if I may call it that way, would over time build experience and expertise that the level of protection for our president would be better.
COP, General mentions trust, and in the conversation about trust also, Council has mentioned institutional memory. Okay, so now, how does having persons who have no knowledge, if you will, about security and intelligence gathering, all of that, be in charge of the number one citizen? Does it not compromise the security? Does it not interfere with the work of those of you who are trained to protect
the state provides security, and you talk about knowledge. So when you are there, you build knowledge and experience. Unfortunately, when the other president is also sworn in, all this state security will also
must we continue like that?
Also leave. So it's, you get your knowledge, you get the experience, but let
a new
president be sworn in. You see, people lobbying to go to the presidency, and then those who are there who have built knowledge and experience will be taken away because General said trust. Trust. The president coming in may not trust those already there. They will think that they have allegiance is with this other president. So that is a problem.
But then COP, it comes back to the question: when people are selected to protect the president, they are made to swear oath. They are made to stay close to.
We swear oath when we join the service.
That's right. So now
that is it.
People swear this oath. They hear so much. They learn so much, and then after 4 years, they are allowed to go. Another set comes in. Can you imagine the body of knowledge they have and what they could be doing with it outside there? If they know the corners.
If you're a police officer and then you work at the presidency and after 4 years you are taken away, I don't find it strange.
I'm not talking about the police officers. I'm talking about the private people who follow the president around, or if you like, any candidate around during the campaign season. The person wins, they join the person at the presidency, they follow him around, they learn, they travel, they hear things, they know things, and then after 4 years, they go. Every now and then, there's a set out there that knows so much, but they are not using it for benefit.
What I'm even saying is, even the state security is taken away when a new president is also sworn.
But why?
So how much more private security? Even the state one who had sworn to defend is taken away. How much more private security?
Should it stop?
When the man leaves and you think the new one coming will hold on to him.
Should they stop?
That's what I'm saying. Even the state, it should not be the case. I mean, we should have a standby or a stand-in force at the presidency to protect whoever becomes president. But like General said, trust. Who would trust somebody who had been so loyal, who owes an allegiance to some other president, to keep him? That is it. So we may be concerned that it should not be the case. But for now, that is how it is.
General, should they stop? We do the ceremonial, the guards are here, they hand over. We do it on TV. 3 months, Navy will come. 3 months, Air Force will come. 3 months, Army will come. Then we do the guards, we change it. It's beautiful, beautiful ceremony. But within the core, we know what happens. After 4 years, we let all of them go. We bring a new set to come and gather again. Should we stop?
How do we stop it? How do we build the trust to stop it? Create a new Ghanaian, not us. Create a new Ghanaian. As far as I can see, the Ghanaian that is coming is worse than the Ghanaian that is going.
The Ghanaian that is coming is worse than the Ghanaian going out.
Like me going. No, it's a big problem, you know. And as if I'm joking, it's not a joke. It's not a joke because there are people that in the military I talked about, you come across, you do know them. But this issue of trust is so powerful. Put your whole life in their hands. I got bodyguards. They come and guard me. I haven't seen them before, but I trust them. Civilians don't do that. They are so suspicious. They don't even try their own kind. I've been in policy before. Their own kind are afraid of them. Anyway, you don't build a country like that.
Anyway, well, we have a release from the Electoral Commission that says, dated today, it says alleged cases of tampering with presidential ballot papers. Information reaching the commission indicates that there have been isolated cases of presidential ballot papers being tampered with in some polling stations in the Owutu Senya West and Boku Central constituencies. We'll get to the Ballot 360 and also get some fact-checking done on this particular one. But the information is that some tampering is going on with the ballot sheets as we keep our extensive coverage here on your election command center on TV3 3FM 92.7, Unia 95.1 FM, Connect FM, Akuma FM, and also Unia TV and 3news.com. The hashtag is Decision 2020 and also hashtag Your Election Command Center. Stay with us with all the details. If you haven't stepped out to go and vote yet, go out there and go and vote. It's important that you do because today 12 presidential candidates are on the ballot sheet. Also, 275 parliamentarians will be elected today. By close of 5 p.m., we will know who has won and who has not. But I'll take your closing thoughts, gentlemen, 1 minute each for all of you. Let me start with you, COP. As we wrap up on the security conversation, the first batch, what would you say to Ghanaians and the men and women in uniform as we inch closer to, the end of polls and the counting of same?
I mean, the people should stay away from causing or creating violence. It is just going out there, voting, and then, of course, going back home. And if you want to come and observe counting, you come back and observe counting. Violence, lawlessness should be out of place completely.
Okay. Thank you. Well, we'll come back. Hold on. Let's connect with Patrick Stevenson at Ballot 360, a studio, and we'll hear what they have for us right there.
Well, you're welcome once again to Ballot 360 here on your election command center, and we have a lot more that is coming out from the various polling stations across the country. There's a statement that has been issued by the Electoral Commission in response to some developments that we have already seen in some constituencies. I'm going to take some of those portions of that statement and we'll try to understand exactly what they mean and what issues for those constituencies we're referring to. And so you have alleged cases of tampering with presidential ballot papers, and this has been reported, been responded to by the Electoral Commission. And the statement reads that information reaching the Commission indicates that there have been isolated cases, so you should take note of that, of presidential ballot papers that have been tampered with in some polling stations in the Ewutu Senya constituency and also in the Boku Central constituency. The commission, working with the Ghana Police Service, has identified the suspected officers and removed them from post pending further investigations. The general public is informed that the presidential ballot paper for the 2020 general election has 12 candidates. For a correctly thumbprinted ballot to be considered valid and counted, all presidential candidates must be on the ballot paper. It's important for you to take note of that. I suspect those of you who are active on social media may see images of some ballot papers where the president of the republic or the very first candidate on the ballot appears not to be there. If you are given a ballot paper like that, you do not accept that ballot paper because it is one that will be rejected according to the Electoral Commission. And the constituencies in there are constituencies that you find the polling stations in there are polling stations in the Ewutu Senya constituency and the Boku Central constituency. The officials involved have been apprehended and there will be further investigations. The statement says the commission is entreating all the staff and field officers to let the truth and facts in our case, guide them and integrity preserve the system as we continue with the polls. The system is designed by the Electoral Commission. I'll come to my guests in studio, Dr. Mensah and Maximus. Maximus, you had flagged up some of the...
To leave these issues to the hands of the political parties. Because if the interested parties get to know that indeed this is what people are doing, they'll read meanings to it. Some of them, they may even think that it's perhaps been sanctioned by some quarters.
Is it a lack of training on the part of the officers that are involved?
My inclination is that the EC had given thorough training to these people, but of course you do not know what people harbor. A lot of people would come in, genuinely register, but they could actually have other parts of them that you may not know. So there is information asymmetry, in some of these things. So I don't think that is lack of training. I think that is sheer, kind of naivety.
Right.
Because surely when you do that, you're likely to be found out, isn't it? People think that they can evade capture.
Right.
And so they do all sort of things, but I'm sure that...
But Maximus, there's a part of the statement from the commission which for me I think is very important. I don't know what you make off of it, because, they indicate that these are isolated cases, right? So people should not interpret this as something that is widespread. How important is that portion of the statement to you, as somebody who monitors development on social media?
Right. I think it's very important that they've been responded in real time.
Right.
Right. You always say that in digital media, real time is the right time.
Right.
Right. That's the easiest way to fight fake news and misinformation. So the EC has released that, okay, the pictures you are seeing on social media, they are true, and they are working on it, and they are isolated cases. It's not pervasive. It's not all over the place. And I'm sure they are going to inform all their officers to be on their guard,
right,
so that nothing like that happens again.
Right.
Right. So at least give some kind of
confidence back to the system.
Whether they cut one person off or 3 people off, whoever you are even going to vote with that ballot paper is going to be even an invalidated, rejected ballot.
Right.
So your intention will not be achieved unless you want to reduce somebody
else's, which is very important. It's a very important point to make, because if these constituencies are, 2 very important constituencies that your analysis already suggested that if we are not careful, may toss up, those regions in favor of any of the political parties.
Right.
It is almost risky to have a ballot paper that will not have the number 1 candidate on there. But there you have it. You have the Electoral Commission providing us some speedy response to developments, coming from the Ewutu Senya constituency and also the Boku Central constituency regarding the conduct of some of its officers, which could mar, the results of the elections, which may ultimately, in some cases, lead to ballots being rejected. But another issue I want to pick up on, which you have already touched on, in the earlier conversation when we engaged our viewers, regarding a development from the Asawase constituency. Now we understand that, we have been able to make contact with the Member of Parliament for the Asawase constituency and the President of Honorable Muntaka Mohammed, who appears to have clarified, the air regarding the use of his daughter's finger in sort of endorsing the candidate he wanted to. And he provides some explanation to that, so, suggesting that, well, the child didn't know what they were doing. I mean, they may have had their finger on the ballot paper, but it is the intention of the father, that at the end of the day was carried through. Dr. Mensah, what do you make of it?
I mean, the laws are clear. He's a lawmaker, so he should know. The laws are clear. You're supposed to be 18 years of sound mind, etc., isn't it? In order to vote.
Right.
Now, you couldn't actually say that somebody did it on your behalf. That's not acceptable. I mean, if you thought that, you wanted to teach your daughter,
right.
You had, dummy ballots, or you could even make a dummy ballot and show your daughter at home how it's done. You don't actually teach your daughter in the booth when the law is clear. That is
exactly what the guidelines
exactly.
would be.
Yourself, you're a lawmaker. So I think some of these things we do not have to
should not be counted. And indeed, you make reference to portions of the law, and you have some portions of electoral law that guides the conduct of voters. If you get to the polling booth, that any person that is found, who without authority destroys or otherwise interferes with the use of a ballot paper or ballot paper that is intended to be used purposely for elections, commits an offense and could go to jail of up to 2 years. As we continue, in the course of the program, we shall bring you legal perspective on this and exactly what the facts say regarding what penal measures, if there are any, as far as the conduct of the Member of Parliament for the Asawase constituency is concerned. There is Ballot 360. We transfer you now to my colleague Nane Kia, who has more on the electoral processes.
I'm currently at the Vigilante constituency, and earlier on, some 2 hours ago, there were delays recorded in most of the polling centers we visited. There was one polling center I had reported earlier, that is the Block Factory polling center, Vigilante 2 at the Vigilante constituency, which started voting 3 hours late. So voting started at about 10:30. Thereabout, and then we moved to some other constituencies which had delays. God's Wonderful Church inside City Group, the polling center where the incumbent, or should I say the MPP parliamentary candidate Tina Gifty Nayeli Mensa votes, and they also had some delays. They started at about 9 a.m. And she has actually raised issues with regards to the delays at most of the polling centers. But the Presby polling center also started quite late, and they started at about 9 a.m. And then the New Botiano bus stop polling center also at Vigilante constituency also started at about 10:30 a.m. So it's not just one or two; it's been pockets of delays. And the presiding officers have attributed this to process error, to whatever definition that is. They didn't give a tangible reason why these delays were reported. Others also, other presiding officers at the other.
We appear to be having some challenges with the feed from. We appear to be having challenges with the line with Nane Kiada, but she was providing some updates on the developments in the Utusenya constituency, and that you have the Electoral Commission issuing a statement on that, indicating that the officers that are involved that may have conducted themselves in a way that could mar the results of the elections at the end of the day have been apprehended, and they are going to look into that effectively. And you've heard from Mr. Maximus Ametogo, who's a digital communication strategist and an analyst as well as Dr. Mensah from University of Ghana Business School, tell us exactly what this means. But I'm going to wrap up this conversation with you, Maximus. Effectively, what exactly should we expect? Okay, I understand we have Nanekia back on. Well, that should be Stanley Blue from the information department. He has something else for us. You have Stanley on the line?
Yeah, hello. I can hear you. Hello, I can hear you.
Well, we shall arrange and get Stanley properly to get some feedback from that development. But Maximus, I was trying to find out from you. So for individuals who get on social media as we speak today, I mean, when they see reports like developments from the Ewutu Senya and the Boku Central constituencies, for example, and some of these images started coming up earlier in the day. What should they do?
I think the first place is to go to the EC's social media channels, the official one, the verified ones, to make sure that you are getting the right information. And of course, you go to the TV3 channels to make sure that you are getting everything from the right source.
Right.
Because you do your cross-checking and make sure.
Of course, and we're already doing some of that fact-checking and getting a sense of what is happening on the ground.
So that they will not fall prey to.
So you may see images on social media. These images started coming up earlier in the course of the day, but we had to verify the authenticity of these images. These have been confirmed now that we have some ballot papers that have been tampered with by some electoral officers, and these ballot papers at the end of the day could be ruled as invalid, in which case they will not matter. So for you who's going to the polling station, if you are given a ballot paper, you should be sure that you have 12, particularly the presidential one. There should be 12 presidential candidates. Anything other than that, you should reject it. It is not a ballot paper that is valid. If you use it, it will count as an invalidated ballot. And make sure that all the presidential aspirants are there. What we saw earlier did not have the first candidate in the person of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo not being present on those ballot papers, and so those ballots stand the risk of being ruled out as invalid. But the perpetrators or individuals that are involved, we understand by the Commission that they have been apprehended and they are going to effectively be dealt with. That is the fact on that development as we speak at the moment, and it's important that you conduct yourself accordingly. My colleague Helen has also been scanning social media to find out exactly what is happening there. Helen, what do we have on social media? How's it going there?
Well, thank you so much for that, Patrick Stevenson. This is still a Social Pulse, and we're still very much exploring what's happening on the internet. So in the era of fake news and trying to verify what's going on, it is important to check the most verifiable source to make sure that you're getting the most accurate information. But we're seeing that the social media trends have shifted a little bit, but it is still that the #1 trending topic, trending hashtag is still Ghana Decides. Well, we'll take a look and see what else is trending online as Ghanaians are still exercising their most important civic duty. So election day is still very much trending, but we see here now Kaswa has crept up in the trends, and we'll have a look at why that is the case. So on Twitter, we've got Kaswa trending, as I mentioned, and there are some reports. We've talked about a possible shooting. Of course, go to our TV3 Ghana pages, go to our 3FM pages as well, and also go to the EC pages, go to the Ghana Police pages as well, to make sure that the information that you are receiving is accurate. We'll look at some of the tweets again that have taken center stage today. According to the trends, we still have the Election Command Center trending. That is the hashtag that we are using. Have you voted is also trending in the top 30 trends. We want to know from you as well. Have you voted? What is the atmosphere? The EC is also trending. The Upper East is trending. We'll have a quick look at why that is the case here. Upper East making it into the news. Some information about some possible cropping in some of the polling stations. That is something that we're able to fact check here on our Election Command Center. We also had a quick look at what the politicians were talking about post casting their vote. So some reactions here from the different important stakeholders in today's event. Rebecca Akufo-Addo said she just voted. She says she hopes that you have voted as well. Kojo Opong Nkrumah also having voted. He says he's done with his civic responsibility. Also, Nana Akufo-Addo, he said voting is an important civic duty. And also, John Dramani Mahama, we saw him on our screens here at the Election Command Center. We showed him casting his vote. He said, I voted at the Ballot District Assembly polling center this morning. Now on Facebook as well, across our different pages, 3FM, TV3, you can go there and see what is happening on social media in real time. We'll go quickly to our Facebook page and have a look at what's happening there as well. We also posted a number of questions, so do engage with us also use the hashtag Election Command Center. So on Facebook, a number of stories also for you to digest here. We've got a story which is on 3news.com. So also check out 3news.com. We have some details of the shooting at the polling station if you want further details about that. Also, statements from the EC if you want more information about that, a press release on there for you as well. But we're going to wrap up. We'll be back on Social Pulse, but we're heading over to Studio C.
Well, so there you have it, Helen. Thank you very much for that synopsis of what is happening on the world of social media. And as she indicated, you want to follow us on all our social media handles, Election Command Center as the hashtag, and then you can follow up on all the developments that's happening on social media. But at this point, we go over to Studio C to see what else has been trending and what else we have been following up on as far as the 2020 general elections is concerned.
This is still your Election Command Center. We'll quickly want to cross over to some of our reporters on the field to give us an idea of what's happening where they are. We quickly want to start with Larry Pakwesi Moses right now. Larry is joining us from the Bono Ahafo region. Larry, if you can hear me, tell me where you are and so far what your observations with the processes, security and smoothness, everything has been.
Yes, Steve. Currently, I am at the Banda constituency, one of the hotspot constituencies within the Bono region. As at 4 a.m., even before we came out to observe the process for the 7 December voting, queues had already been formed in most of the polling stations that we visited this morning. As I'm speaking to you now, Steve, most of the polling stations had finished voting, and they are waiting for the 5 p.m. Regulation by the Electoral Commission to start counting and sorting out. Steve, I can say also that security is on high alert. Lots of military personnel have been deployed into the constituency because of what happened during the registration or the voter registration in August. So they don't want to, as it were, leave anything. So security is on high alert here. Both the military and the police are here in their numbers. People have voted. Almost all the polling stations we visited, Steve, is very peaceful and orderly. The only challenge that we observe is the COVID-19 protocols. Initially, they were following the protocols to the letter, but as time goes on, I can tell you that the protocol is not being observed at all. You could see queues being formed, people not even wearing the nose mask, not even washing their hands anymore. And another challenge is most of the officials that we spoke about the delay in the BVD, which is delaying the whole process. But with these two challenges, Steve, I can tell you that the Banda is safe. The MP, the incumbent MP, who's also the candidate for the NDC, Ahmed Ibrahim, Deputy Minority Chief Whip, has voted. His contender from the MPP, Joe Danko, has also voted. The DCE also just voted. And the chief of the Banda, Nana Kojosito, has also voted. So see, for Banda, it's very peaceful. We are waiting for the 5 p.m. deadline by the EC to start counting, even though most of the polling stations that we visited have already finished voting, Steve.
Right. Thank you very much, Larry Pakwesi Moses, our correspondent from the Bono and Ahafo regions. You heard his narrative there. Let's quickly get to Stanley Bleu right now. Stanley, if you can hear me, thanks very much. You're joining us now. So tell me where you are, what the situation is there, and what you can report.
Okay, so Steve, since the commencement of poll, I've been shuttling between the Amasaman constituency and then the Trabu constituency as well. So relatively, the process has been smooth, except that in 2 polling stations in the Trabu constituencies, there has been a little hitches, and so the military had to come in. But before then, the security personnel that actually were deployed to man the place were able to bring the situation under control. And then we have the military that is also on patrol, making sure that all the polling stations in the constituency are being made free of violence. And so I have been to several places, but some of the challenges that the EC officials have to contend with has to do with lack of some security personnel at their centers. And then the COVID protocols. The COVID protocols also not observed largely in most of the polling stations that are visited. So when you go to the mosque, the polling station, a mosque at Media, for instance, the people, because of the scorching sun, the voters have queued on the sun for quite a longer time, and the process has been delaying. So they have had to they've had to be on the sun for some time. And so currently I have left those areas and I'm at the Information Services polling station here in Kanda, and I have with me the presiding officer of this center, and he's going to tell me more about how the process has been so far. So can you tell me your name?
George Kwame Amejo.
Okay.
Yep. I'm the presiding officer for Kanda, that's Information Service 1, Kanda 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you tell me briefly how the process has been so far?
So far, so good. Everything is smoothly here in the polling service. So I can say that there's no trouble, there's no problem in the voting process so far. Yes, we've not had any problem, any challenge here.
How many people were expected to actually come and cast their vote?
Yes, I have 570 registered voters. Yes, and out of that, 367 have casted their votes so far.
Okay, so no challenges so far?
No challenge, sir.
Okay. So, Steve, this is what is actually happening at the Information Services polling station here in Kanda.
Right, thanks very much. Stanley Bleu is our man who covered Trobu Amasamang and is now right across us here at Kanda, the Information Service polling station, just across the John Hammond Street and the Presidential Drive. This is still Election Command Center, and we're crisscrossing the entire country to get you updates from our reporters who are stationed right there, bringing you the events as they unfold. Let's quickly take you to some other parts of the capital in Accra, Abluma Central, I am told, where there have been some developments there and an update. Voting at Abluma North, I beg your pardon, has seen a major turnout in numbers. The constituency is considered the stronghold of the MPP after visiting some 30 or so polling stations. Our reporter Nana Ikuya Abrampa reports on the situation there. We'll be bringing you that story pretty shortly, but let's quickly get to the Johnny Hughes and his team to talk through some of the events. Johnny.
Thank you. I like the peace and calm that has generally heralded the elections, even though the police had announced that we have over 6,000 flashpoints. It doesn't appear that the flashpoints are really showing themselves. I mean, somebody say early days yet anyway.
Except for a few volatilities like
exactly.
we've spoken about. It's being normally peaceful. I mean, my family went out to vote, and within a few minutes they were back home already. So you have to go and vote too.
Absolutely.
Because I think you didn't vote for
I didn't
the
get a
special
chance to
voting.
do that,
Your
yes.
name didn't appear.
It didn't appear.
You need to pray that your name appears in this one, Johnny.
Well, I checked by 711. You know.
And it was there.
It worked. So let's hope that when I get there, it's actually.
So
there.
your constituency will be which one?
Okanakwe South.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to vote for who?
Well.
Okay. As if I should ask.
Anyway, thank you very much. This is your election command center here on TV3 3FM 92.7, Onia, Connect FM, Akuma FM, and also 3news.com. The hashtag is on election command center. We're up in the trends on Twitter. You join the winning team as we bring you up to the minute analysis and also cover the event bit by bit. Now, COP, let's go back to the flashpoints. The police has announced over 6,000 flashpoints, but so far so good. We've not had, if you will, so many incidences here and there. Would you say that this is perhaps something that the police put down there to ensure that the issues didn't escalate, or that the Electoral Commission in its own thinking by splitting some of the polling stations to ensure that we didn't have some of the crowds, or the people generally are behaving and are trying to stay altogether peaceful? Where would you put it?
I think the numbers are small compared with those we had in 2016 and 2012. You see, as we go up the ladder, we are improving, we are learning from mistakes. So it's not strange that we've had a smooth voting process up to this stage. The police also assured us that they were deploying quite a number of them, and so their presence is also adding some calmness to the process. So it's not unusual that so far things have been so smooth. But let's pray that it becomes smooth until the counting stage is over, because that is the counting stage too can produce its own problems, where people may be tempted to go and take ballot boxes when they feel that their party is losing. But as I said, things have been smooth, and 2012, 2016, we didn't have snatching of ballot boxes. So I believe, learning from experience and how far we have come, we wouldn't have situations where losing people who are sympathetic to parties that will be losing will rush into to snatch boxes.
I see. General, would you give the citizenry some credit as well for the peaceful nature that the elections have been conducted so far? It's almost 2 p.m. and so far we just had very little of incidences of violence.
That's right.
You know, and that's a feather in a cap.
So far, so good. I think a combination of factors. People have behaved themselves. A lot of advice has gone to the youth, especially not to cause any mayhem. I think they have heeded to the advice. We are learning too. Then also, the Electoral Commission has also behaved pretty well. The way they've actually created more polling stations and lessened the number of people who are queuing to vote has also made a lot of contribution to the peace that we are seeing today at the polling stations. My advice still to the security, the police and the military. They've done so well, and keep it up. The military especially, be the backbone of the police. And if anybody misbehaves, they should deal with the person quite firmly. That's the way to secure peace and maintain it. So far we say that we've done well, and let's keep it that way.
Bobby, your take?
Yes,
Security, the citizenry, or the Electoral Commission? Who takes the applause?
Well, I think that the citizens will take most of the credit, because if it had gone bad, it would have been the citizens as well that would be blamed. But so far, so good. I like I said on one of your programs, that I was quite impressed with the IGP when he said he had gone around the country, every single constituency, to have identified what to do and where. And I think it's playing a part. I will give the media and CSOs some credit as well, because we've also spoken at length, educating the public and making sure that everybody understands why we must go in and vote peacefully. I was also impressed with the announcement by the EC to increase the number of polling stations, because of course that would mean that there will be less people queuing, and then it will mean that the process will be faster than usual. And so these factors, in my opinion, have contributed to what we have seen, and we hope that it carries on until everything is over.
Okay. Well, so the Electoral Commission earlier had put out a statement that information has reached it that there have been some isolated cases of presidential ballot papers being tampered with in some polling stations in the Wutu Senya West and Boku Central constituencies. The Commission said it's working with the Ghana Police Service and has identified suspected officers and removed them from post pending further investigations. The general public is further informed that the presidential ballot paper for the 2020 general elections has 12 candidates. For a correctly thumb printed ballot to be considered valid and counted, all the presidential candidates can and must be on the valid ballot paper. The Commission entreats all its staff and field officers to let the truth guide them and integrity preserve them as they continue with the important exercise. We also urge political parties and candidates, agents, and the general public to be vigilant to ensure a free, fair, credible, and transparent election. COP, this is what has happened, and I showed you a picture of what's suspected to happen, where one candidate, that's basically the president's image, had been chopped off, at the time of issuing the ballot sheet out there. The Electoral Commission says it has identified the people, taking them from off there. The police is investigating. They want the people to be guided by the truth, that the ad hoc staff to be guided by the truth. What happens to the votes that are gone? Because if I came to the polling station to vote, now I'm learning here that because there are no 12 candidates on my sheet, my vote may not be counted. What happens to me? That's recipe for disaster.
That is a big issue. But I'm thinking those that voted, I think, should have observed that there was some anomaly. If you did not bring the attention of the returning officer, I think you are also to blame, because there are 12 candidates, all of us know, 12 candidates on the ballot paper. Now you go there and you saw 11. The first one had been chopped off. And then you went ahead and voted without bringing the attention of the returning officer. I think you are also to blame. And so if your vote is not counted, it's because you didn't do the right thing.
But that's through no fault of theirs. And the Electoral Commission had trained people to do this job and to do it with all their will and might.
Assuming you were the one who were to vote with that portion chopped off, wouldn't you raise an alarm?
Because I'm educated about the electoral process. It's not many people are. I don't for want of a better
Johnny, we quickly have to get to the Abluma North right now. I apologize for
it's okay, that's
cutting
fine.
quickly, but voting at Abluma North, I told you, has seen a major turnout in numbers. The constituency is considered the stronghold of the MPP after visiting about 30 polling stations or so. Our reporter Nanaikuya Rampa-Mensah is joining us on the to give us a situation analysis of what's happening on the ground. But here's a report. We'll bring you that story later. We apologize for the hitches there. This is still your election command center. Let's go back and hear that report now.
The people moving to the various electoral areas around the Abluma North municipality, and currently they have about 289 polling stations under the Abluma North municipality, 14 electoral areas, which is the Common East and West, Kwashibu, Gloryland area, Sakaman area, and then the Bintu area as well, Awoshi area, and then Kwashiman and Kwashibu around the Hong Kong area as well. So we've so far visited around 30 polling stations, which we keep on going and moving on to find out what is happening. As you can see, voters have turned out in their numbers to cast their vote, both for parliamentary and presidential candidates, for them to see at the end of the day who will be victorious. You also take note that when it comes to the Abluma North constituency, the main people who will be battling is Sheila Battles for the MPP and also Madam Winifred Ashley Mensah for the NDC as well. No absentees for the registered voters so far, around the 30 polling stations that we've visited. So people keep on coming, and then there's a long queue here at the Malam Market. As you can see, registered voters waiting in a long queue to cast their votes for both presidential and parliamentary candidates.
The municipal chief executive of Abluma North is satisfied with the process and encourage all voters to come out in their numbers to vote for a peaceful election.
My message is that everybody should stay calm, everybody should go and vote. If you cast your vote and you are sure of what you have done, you don't need to panic. For security, everything is in order. Everybody, every Ghanaian has equal right. We will all be protected, and there's nothing that is going to happen. They should vote and vote wisely and go home.
Superintendent of Immigration Abraham Nkambi, a task force member at Abluma North, was touring the electoral area and says so far everything is under control, and he assures voters of safe and sound process.
So far, no challenge. We're going around, and you can see we are lovely. Everywhere we go, they are well jacked. They are well jacked, and nobody has given any complaints so far. So we believe that they are all hardworking and everything is okay. We are on course.
So we'll bring you all the updates in our subsequent bulletin, and we will wait till counting is over.
Right, so that's Nane Kwia Amankwa Kwe. I did say Abrampa Mensah, but no, that's not Abrampa Mensah. Let's quickly now go back to Ayawaso West Wogon, where Portia Gabo, our reporter, has been around the constituency and has come through with this report.
The Gimpa number 2 polling station, where early on parliamentary candidate for Ayawaso West Wogon of the NDC, John DeMello, raised some concerns over here. And I have here with me Jonathan Kwame. He is the presiding officer of Gimpa number 2 polling station. First of all, can you explain to us what happened, why some people were allowed to vote without indelible voting?
Okay. I think his concern was so genuine, simply because when the materials were brought, we didn't have indelible ink, but we verified the first 4 to go through without the ink, and we used the stamp pad ink to show they are voted. So if he raised that concern, he was right. Yeah, but he never proceeded. We have to vote. The ink was brought immediately. We didn't even stop the voting. Everything went on. Just about 4 that didn't vote. That voted without the actual indelible.
So voting has resumed. Everyone is voting.
We didn't. There was no break. The break was just like, let's say, as at that same time we began, that was when the ink was brought. Yeah, so I think all went well. Gimpa has not gotten enough issue as you're thinking. As it stands now, we've cast about 215. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the explanation. And Jonathan Kwame is the presiding officer of Gimpa number 2 polling station. So this incident happened early on in the morning, but later on, John DeMello addressed the media after he voted at Ogongo, and he did say he was satisfied with what the EC had done so far, rating them 70%.
That's Portia Gabo's report there, and we'll take a break. But before we go, I need to tell you that later on we'll be bringing you quite a number of analysis from turnout over the years of elections. We have some statistics we'll share with you, and then we will talk to you about the indicator region, which appears to be Ashanti, what the parties need to do or what it appears they do each time they win, the percentages that they need to get in order, both NDC and MPP, in order to win. And then we'll also switch over to the Volta region and give you some more statistics. But this is your Election Command Center. I'll take a break. I will be right back.